Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, daily news, everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., money, investing, the stock market, inflation, the economy, everything you need to know about on a daily basis on here on our YouTube channel here. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. It's completely free to do so. I will keep you up to date with everything going on here in our country. And if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. First of all, we're going to talk about Senator Joe Manchin and the newest thing coming out here about the stimulus package that could prevent a problem here with Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican senator who's campaigning for Joe Manchin to vote against this stimulus package. First, let's talk about the stimulus package, the Build Back Better package. An interesting thing that's just coming about here now in the last 24 to 48 hours is Joe Manchin and now Senator Lindsey Graham and the Republican stance on how they're battling against the Build Back Better package is the cost and the Congressional Budget Office cost and their argument against the Build Back Better package and how they're combating it. The Republican argument is kind of the cost on how it would go for years after this package. Okay, so the current package only goes for so many years depending on each plan. And the Republican argument is, well, what about after this plan is over? Aren't these plans going to continue on for many years afterwards? Here's what Republican Senator Lindsey Graham had to say. It's a long speech. I've cut it down to a couple sections here that you need to say, but he's talking directly or campaigning directly to Joe Manchin here, trying to get Joe Manchin to vote no on this next Build Back Better package. Check this out.
I'm Senator Graham from South Carolina. I'm the ranking member, the lead Republican on the Budget Committee. And we have some news to share with the American people about the true cost of Build Back Better. And what started this conversation was a belief by Senator Manchin and many others about the original score. The original bill was scored at $1.75 trillion in cost. And the way they got that number is they took 17 new programs that would be created by Build Back Better, and they sunsetted the programs 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. If you believe these programs go away after 1, 2, or 3 years, you shouldn't have a driver's license. Ronald Reagan said the closest thing to immortality on earth is a government program. We all know that the child tax credits are not going to go away after a year. But if I'm wrong, I'd like a letter from Senator Schumer and the Democratic Conference saying they're okay with these programs terminating in 1 year or 2 years. The reason they put a sunset on the program is to lower the cost. It's a budget gimmick. And here's what Senator Manchin said. What I see are shell games and budget gimmicks that make the real cost of this so-called $1.7 trillion bill estimated to be twice as high if the programs are extended or made permanent. Joe said that November the 1st, 2021. What did I do? I asked the Congressional Budget Office to give a score on Build Back Better, assuming the programs don't go away, they stay in place for 10 years, which is reality. That is the reality of Washington. These programs will not sunset. They will continue for a 10-year period. And here is what we got. All right. Instead of $1.775 trillion, the true cost goes to $4.9 trillion, over twice. If you do away with the budget gimmicks over a 10-year period, the cost of Build Back Better is $4.9 trillion, not $1.75. The effect on the deficit with gimmicks is $365 billion over 10 years. Without gimmicks, the deficit increases to $3 trillion. An 8-fold increase. I am urging the Democratic Party to stop the madness, stop Build Back Better, because Build Back Better is going to be a death blow to our economy. The provisions in the bill will dramatically increase energy cost. And what did we learn today? That inflation today reached a 40-year high, 6.8%. Inflation is the enemy of working people in America. Build Back Better aids and abets the enemy of inflation, will drive that number up higher. There's been a 58% increase in gasoline prices because of inflation. If Build Back Better became law, it would dramatically reduce the ability to extract fossil fuels in America, and it would lead to higher energy cost.
Okay, so we'll get to a couple more things he's going to say here in a second, especially regarding Joe Manchin, because remember, Joe Manchin is a key vote here. Without his vote, they can't pass the package. Now, remember, Lindsey Graham is a Republican, so he's giving you a 100% Republican point of view. I'm not going to give you a 100% Democratic point of view. I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a more neutral point of view. So a couple things about this package. He mentioned the child tax credits as an example here. So number one, the child tax credits have been around for, I think it's 23 years, okay? And remember, former President Donald Trump, a Republican, actually increased the child tax credits from $1,000 per year to $2,000 per year, a Republican president. Okay, so yeah, I know that the Republicans are trying to pin this all on the Democrats here, but a Republican president actually raised that, okay, for children, okay. And I mean, if the Republicans were in power right now, do you think the Republicans would just stop the child tax credits and not give them to 65 million children? I don't think they would. I mean, the Republicans actually did that through the reconciliation process back with the 2017 Trump tax cuts, all on their own. Okay, so I know they're trying to say this, but doing and saying are two different things. And if we go back on record, they voted to raise the child tax credits from $1,000 to $2,000. Okay, and they're also saying they're all concerned about inflation now, but yet former President Donald Trump added $8 trillion to the deficit in just 4 years. Okay, and that's a fact. You can just look it up. Okay, the other thing that is concerning here is that they're talking about future spending that's not even approved yet that Congress would have to approve. That's like saying, what if these programs are approved forever, in perpetuity for the next 100 years? That would add $1,000 trillion, $900 trillion add to the deficit. You're almost coming up with fictitious numbers here, right? That's like saying, well, the defense of the country costs $750 billion a year. Why are we talking about only 1 year? Why aren't we talking about the next 100 years that it would cost? Why are we talking about sunsetting it only for 1 year? Why aren't we talking about, we all know that it's not going to only be for 1 year, the defense of the country. Why aren't we talking about what it's going to cost every single year for the next 10 years, for the next 100 years, right? So the stance that they're taking is not really a fair stance, because you would have to take that stance on every single government program that there is that goes on, right? The defense of our country. They're getting ready to pass the defense bill, right? Well, the defense of our country doesn't go on for only 1 year, but they're only passing it for 1 year. They just passed the government funding bill. They didn't even pass that for 1 year. They only passed it till February 18th. Why aren't they talking about, well, that's not going to be funded only till February 18th. Why aren't they talking about funding that for the next 100 years? You see the problem with that argument? It's not really fair to say that, because when you fund a program or you fund a bill, you fund it for a specific amount of time, because that's what it's voted on. And then when it has to come up again and get voted on again and passed by a future Congress. Every future Congress has to vote on it again and either pass it or not. You can't say, oh, well, what is this going to cost us for the next 10 years, or the next 100 years, because it may or may not pass. A future Congress could be controlled completely by Republicans, and Republicans could vote it down if they want to. Remember, back in 2017 and 2018, Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency under former President Donald Trump, and they raised the child tax credits from $1,000 to $2,000. I'm just using the child tax credits as an example. There's benefits in here for seniors. They're expanding Medicare coverage. They're lowering the cost of child care. They're lowering the cost of prescription drug pricing. I just did a video yesterday night, that had 10 different things in here that most people had never even heard of, that had all sorts of things in this Build Back Better package. There's literally going to be all sorts of different programs in here. There's $25 billion of rental assistance. I mean, there's all sorts of different things in this package. You know, there's energy assistance in here. There's $150 billion of low-income housing assistance. They're literally going to be building low-income housing across the country. I mean, all sorts of different things in this package, right? So you can't really say, well, what if they continue building housing for the next 10 years or the next 100 years, right? It's not really an apples to apples comparison, right? But if I go back to the Republican point of view, it is fair to say that I don't think that the Democrats do want to end programs like the child tax credits, but we are on the brink of them ending. I mean, the December 15th payment is going to be the last monthly payment. Now, the first 6 months of those payments are going to go out again in the new year because those are due on your tax return. But as of right now, there's not a January 15th payment scheduled to go out because they haven't passed the package. And at this point, if they don't pass the package soon, there's not going to be a January 15th payment. So just keep that in mind. But if the roles were reversed, and if Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, I think that they would also be passing an extension of the child tax credits because Republicans are in favor of the child tax credit as well. They're just not in favor of it now because Democrats are in favor, or the Democrats are in power of everything. So now that Democrats are in power of everything, they're just kind of against everything because Democrats are in power, right? But if we go back a few years ago, it was the Republicans who were passing the child tax credits. If you get what I'm saying here, Republicans are just against everything right now because it's the Democrats passing everything. It's just it's a very political, I don't like everything because it's the Democrats passing it. A few years ago, the Democrats were doing the same thing. They didn't like anything that the Republicans were passing with the 2017 Trump tax cuts. That's politics, everybody. That's America. Unfortunately, that's how it works.
You talk about Joe Manchin. What kind of conversations have you had?
I talked to him this morning.
Okay, and so help us understand kind of the contours of those conversations, and also too, where do you think he is on supporting Build Back Better based on what you all have discussed?
So Joe had a conversation with some business people, and he was worried about the fact that when you add up all the money we spent since COVID, it's larger than what we spent on World War II. Back in November, just a little over a month ago, he believed that this budget bill written was full of gimmicks. And when you take those gimmicks out, you see the cost. He said, wow, that's even more than Wharton. But Senator Manchin, to his credit, I think reached out to Wharton Business School and said, would you look at these proposals if they didn't go away? So he said a couple things. I want the bill to be paid for, right? Well, the true effect on the deficit, where's that at? Assuming the programs continue, which they will, you've got to find $3 trillion worth of offsets. I don't believe it's possible to find $3 trillion of offsets without wrecking the economy. Are you going to raise taxes by $3 trillion? Or are you going to cut the government by $3 trillion? So what I think will happen is that Joe will take these numbers and he will start making decisions about what comes next. And my hope is that Senator Manchin would say, stop, shelve Build Back Better until we find better answers to where inflation is headed. That the 1-2 punch of the CBO score, showing the bill much more expensive and record high inflation after 40 years, I think will give Senator Manchin great pause. And what I would ask him to do, if you believe we should pause, count me in, Joe, with sitting down with you and others to find a way to lower inflation, deal with the supply chain, and maybe come up with a new bipartisan bill to address some of the needs of the American people that we actually can pay for.
So now here's a couple things to think about. Now let's think about some of the things in this bill. Reducing the cost of prescription drug pricing for tens of millions of Americans. Do we not want to pass that? So like if we don't pass that bill, do we not want to lower the cost of prescription drug pricing for over 100 million Americans? Reducing the cost of childcare for tens of millions of Americans. Is that something we don't want to do? Like the average cost of childcare for working families is like $10,000. In some states, it's as high as $20,000. Do we not want to do that? Do we not want to expand Medicare benefits for seniors? Right now, they want to add hearing and hearing aid benefits to seniors. We're trying to add vision and dental. It's also those possibilities that could come in the next package as well. as well as Social Security benefits. We have several new proposals. If you've been watching the channel, you know that we have a lot of different senators and congressmen and congresswomen pushing to expand Social Security benefits and how to pay for them as well, make Social Security solvent. Basically, high income earners would pay a little bit more Social Security taxes and help fund Social Security, and also raise Social Security benefits for seniors, for people on Social Security. Is that something we don't want to do? Do we want to have seniors who work their whole lives live in poverty? People on SSI, SSDI, people with disabilities, people on Social Security, people retired. Do we want to have people live in poverty? Do we want to have people that are retired on Medicare and Medicaid not have hearing, dental, and vision? Is this something that we want for our country? Well, if we don't pass this package and the next package, that's what we're looking at. Is that something that we want? Well, if we don't pass this and the next one, that's what we're looking at, guys. Do we not want to take care of our children? Do we not want to give $250 to $300 per month in the child tax credits? Remember, these have been going on for 23 years. Okay, they haven't always been that high, but of course, we know that the worth of the dollar is not nearly what it is now, right? I mean, we know that $300 now is not what $300 was 20 years ago, right? And we know that about 50% of that money goes to literally directly to feeding children, okay? And probably the other 50% of it probably goes to housing children, paying for clothing. And I mean, they literally have said that like 50% of that has taken children out of childhood poverty. And remember, it's been around for 23 years, right? So if you take that away, I mean, what is going to happen to children living in poverty, right? We want to reduce the cost of prescription drug pricing, right? I mean, when you just think about all the and paid family and medical leave, we're the only country in the world, first world country. I always forget to say that, and then I remember to say it. We're the only first world country in the world to not offer paid family and medical leave on a national basis from our government. We're the only country to not offer this. We're also one of the only first world countries to not offer preschool paid for on a national level by our government. Okay. I know that some states offer it, but like, for example, in Ohio, they don't offer it. If you want to send your kid to preschool, it's literally thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. We didn't send Julian to preschool this year. He's only 3.5 years old, and just the whole risk of COVID and him not being vaccinated as a 3-year-old, we just decided to have him stay home. But if we did send him, it's literally no joke, thousands and thousands of dollars. It's like $200 a week at the like minimum. That's $800 a month. If you think about that, that's like $10,000 a year. Yeah, it's a lot of money. $10,000 a year. And again, we're one of the only first world countries that don't offer preschool paid for. I know there's a few states that pay for it. I've seen that in the comments. I don't know what out of all 50 states, which states paid for it or not. But I know a lot of states don't pay for it. Okay, and that's why they want to include that in this package. There's so many things in this package, guys, that they want to like reduce costs for. Seniors, people with children, lowering the cost of prescription drug pricing, paid family medical leave, $25 billion more in rental assistance, low-income housing, $150 billion of that. There's also in-home senior care, all sorts of different things in here. I just did a video last night that has 10 other things in there that you probably never knew of. I'll link you to that here in a moment. But when you think about a lot of the things in this bill, you're like, why haven't we had this to begin with? Why haven't seniors always had on Medicare hearing, dental, and vision? Why hasn't that always been in Medicare? Like, when you think about having medical coverage, shouldn't your eyes be covered? Shouldn't your teeth be covered? Speaking of, last night I actually had a tooth pulled, and I filmed my third video a little bit early, and then I had to rush off and get a tooth pulled, and it literally still hurts me. But yeah, I literally had a tooth pulled last night. It was it's my tooth before my wisdom tooth. I've had all my wisdom teeth removed, and yeah, they had to remove it's like what do you call that, a molar? And what an experience. He's pulling it, and it cracked in half, and it felt like my skull cracked in half. It was just like the loudest crack. But hey, I'm still here with you guys, right? Filmed my third video a little bit beforehand because I knew I wasn't going to film an 8 p.m. video. And then, after getting my tooth pulled, so I filmed it a little bit and then a little bit early, and then I jetted off to the dentist and got my tooth pulled. But yeah, that wasn't fun. But when you think about having like medical coverage, like why, when we think about Medicare, why isn't hearing, dental, and vision coverage? I know some people get that coverage, they have to pay extra for it, but why do you have to pay extra for it? Why isn't it covered? And if they get it covered, then you won't have to pay extra for it. You can save that extra money and not have to pay extra for it. And the vast majority of seniors don't have that coverage because they can't afford to pay extra for it. Yeah, and really when you kind of start to think about all the different things in this package, and really kind of this is just kind of some of the things in this package, right? And we did that video yesterday with kind of some of the other things in the package. Some of the things I didn't even know because they're literally changing the package all the time. The bill is thousands of pages, right? And once they pass the package, we're going to learn a lot more, right? And then there's going to be another package after this, hopefully with Social Security raises and a lot more. Kind of makes you wonder why these things haven't been a part of our country all the time. So I get what the Republicans are saying. My personal thought about the national deficit is it, in a way, it kind of really doesn't matter. I get the whole inflation thing, but inflation is going on everywhere in the world right now. Because I study this stuff. Remember, the cost of vegetables alone in China just went up by 30%. Just an example. So it's not just a U.S. thing, right? It's not just because the U.S. passed stimulus packages or anything. Inflation is going on everywhere in the world because of the U.S. or the country or the world is coming out of recessions. It's just kind of a world thing right now. It's not because the U.S. passed stimulus packages. The whole world is going through the same kind of recessionary and coming out of it and things. It's a global thing right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just a U.S. thing only. And the whole world is dealing with gas prices. The whole world is dealing with inflation. The whole world is dealing with supply chains right now. If you look into that, you'll literally see it's happening across the world. But I really do think going forward that a lot of people in our economy or in our country and in our economy really need a lot of help. Really need a lot of help. And when you think about like seniors as an example, people that have worked their whole lives and are now retired shouldn't be living in poverty, shouldn't not have these medical coverage. There's so many of these things that are like, and you talk about paid family medical leave, like how are we the only country in the world to not have this? And when you start to think about this, and when you talk about child tax credits, it's kind of like child support from the government. When you look at other first world countries, they've had this for so long. And when you kind of start to compare us to other countries, it's like, oh, other countries have been already doing this forever. Well, we've had the child tax credits for 23 years, right? But now they've kind of expanded it so everybody gets it and they get it on a monthly basis. So people actually pay their bills with it and they're paying for food with it and they're not just blowing it and spending it all when they get their tax return. And they're not just like, going rushing out and buying an iPhone and then it's gone for the whole year. So honestly, now that I've been a part of, you with you guys and here with this YouTube and kind of seeing it on a daily basis and reading your guys' comments here and being here with you as a voice with you guys every day and, kind of getting your guys' message out to millions and millions of people here. It's kind of even changed my perspective on everything. And I actually kind of really do think that a lot of these programs that should have been implemented a long time ago. I think seniors need hearing, dental, and vision included for no extra cost. I think children do need to be taken care of. I think low income, no income, people on disability, people on Social Security do need raises. I think that nobody should be living in poverty, especially if they're retired and they've worked their whole lives. And that's why I continue to get my message out here every single day. I know who watches my show. I've been reached out to from people in Congress. I've been reached out to from very, I'll say, powerful people, but people that do have a voice besides just me here talking to millions of people here. So that's why I continue to not only be a voice, but also be a voice kind of for you guys. And I'm here with you guys every single day. And we're going to just keep on talking. We're going to keep on getting our message out here. And we'll see where it goes, right? I mean, we're going to keep on pushing. We're going to keep on talking to Congress. And hopefully we'll keep on getting our message out there. I mean, honestly, I know that we've made a difference. And I know because I've been reached out to by several different people along the way. And Let me know your thoughts. Keep reaching out to your congressman as well. Email them, tweet them, call them, write them. I know that makes a difference as well. I've seen the difference in the past. I'll keep you up to date here. And remember, it's completely free to subscribe. Literally just click subscribe. It costs you nothing. And I will keep you up to date here every day. You can click here to watch my newest video next. This top video is our newest video on Social Security raises and what could be coming in the future. And this bottom video is how to apply for rental assistance. I've had thousands of viewers get up to 12 months of their rent paid for from the third stimulus check package. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. See you in the next video. See you in the next video. See you. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, daily news, everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., money, investing, the stock market, inflation, the economy, everything you need to know about on a daily basis on here on our YouTube channel here. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. It's completely free to do so. I will keep you up to date with everything going on here in our country. And if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. First of all, we're going to talk about Senator Joe Manchin and the newest thing coming out here about the stimulus package that could prevent a problem here with Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican senator who's campaigning for Joe Manchin to vote against this stimulus package. First, let's talk about the stimulus package, the Build Back Better package. An interesting thing that's just coming about here now in the last 24 to 48 hours is Joe Manchin and now Senator Lindsey Graham and the Republican stance on how they're battling against the Build Back Better package is the cost and the Congressional Budget Office cost, and their argument